In this land of broken rules, political fools, we got to stick together. In many ways, the people have always been ahead of their leaders, but we got to keep eagle-eyeing their foolishness if we're gonna rise above. I don't care who says my cliche is tired, but what we need is love. Watch how we moving, watch how we grooving, see how we float in style. One nation under a groove, the Ganges has met the Nile. The hidden agendas.
With Geico, we can easily bundle home and car insurance and save even more.
Yeah, just like that breakfast burrito.
There isn't too much hot sauce, is there? I have a...
Of the mind benders, these people will always do their due. But when we get to that sweet place that we go in, them could come along too. Cause we moving with the power and the glory. See how we float in style. One nation, one groove, the Ganges has met tonight. There'll come a time when our children will ask us, big people, what did you do? And when we let the lyric fly, pray not to lie, the choice is up to you. Tell me why so many rivers of this world found their way into this land. The sweet answer lies in the very question. I hope you understand. Watch me. And now, the lady who called from North Korea and say she have it on stream. All the streamers in the United States, Europe, throughout the Caribbean, we will sing this one together all around the world with the people here today. Are you ready? See how we moving. One nation. One nation. Hidden agendas. The hidden agenda of the mind benders. They will always do their due. But when we get to that sweet place, Trinidad and Tobago, even them could come along too. Cause we move in with the power and the glory. See how we go inside. One nation, one group. The Ganges has met the Nile. The Ganges has met the Nile. The Ganges has met the Nile. Oh, that's too sweet. In this land of broken rules, political fools, we got to stick together. In many ways, the people have always been ahead of their leaders, but we got to keep eagle-eyeing their foolishness if we're gonna rise above. I don't care who says my cliche is tired, but what we need is love. Watch how we moving, watch how we grooving, see how we float in style. One nation under a groove, the Ganges has met the Nile. The hidden agendas of the mind benders, these people will always do their due. But when we get to that sweet place that we go in, them could come along too. Cause we moving with a power and a glory. See how we float in style. One nation, one groove, the Ganges has met tonight. There'll come a time when our children will ask us, big people, what did you do? And when we let the lyric fly, pray not to lie, the choice is up to you. Tell me why so many rivers of this world found their way into this land. The sweet answer lies in the very question. I hope you understand. Watch me. And now, the lady who called from North Korea and say she have it on stream. All the streamers in the United States, Europe, throughout the Caribbean, we will sing this one together all around the world with the people here today. Are you ready? See how we moving. One nation. One nation. Hidden agendas. The hidden agenda of the mind benders. They will always do their due. But when we get to that sweet place, Trinidad and Tobago, even them could come along too. Cause we move with the power and the glory. See how we go inside. One nation, one group. The Ganges has met the night. The Ganges has met the night. The Ganges has met.
I am glad that I've lived in this time to try to explain what's happening. When you see our people close their eyes and put their hands in the air and sway from side to side in the public space, they're saying something greater than the body exposes. The body reflects the mind, not the individual mind, but the collective mind. One of the great sins of this time is that we have claptrappers who call themselves analysts and leaders who have not one inkling, not one understanding of what's happening in our country. Not every day people rise up night after night in village after village tongue after tongue, inside the borders of their country and outside the borders, with their candle and their flashlights in hand, swaying from side to side, with their eyes locked tight. Retreating to a place where the oppressor cannot see them, speaking in languages that the oppressor will never understand, and even some of their leaders. I am glad that I am alive in this time to join the David Rudders of this world. We move in with the power and the glory. The hidden agenda by the mind benders. You see, yesterday's scrapehead and scraper, yesterday's bad boy is today's revolutionary. They will never understand that. As David Rudder said, in many ways, the people have always been ahead of their leaders. Justice and dignity are never transactional. Some people may sell their vote. But they will never sell their soul and their dignity. We are moving on with the power and the glory. Good evening. Tonight, we are coming to the end of Indian Arrival Day. And for me, it's not Arrival Day, it's Indian Arrival Day. This day, our East Indian brethren came here. It's Indian Arrival Day. The Ganges came to meet the Nile. The Nile was here, stretching across the Atlantic. The Ganges came later and met the Nile. Two rivers coming from different places, meeting in our Caribbean, our Guyana. The beauty of diversity, beckoning us to somewhere else. When the Ganges mix up with the Nile, what cometh of that? The mind benders, with their hidden agendas, will try to get us to be simplistic. But we are much more complex than that. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. Brother Gabriel is here tonight, GHK Lall, and we are still moving. You know, the funeral was postponed today. And I understand the big news is some nurse assistant who put out some voice note, and the government, you all saying the police. What police? What police? That thing you all calling police. That is not a police acting, you all stop it. It's the government, the state. We have stopped, the police have stopped acting long. The police has become an arm of the political state. So you all stop it, but the police put out wanted bulletin. It is the government and state that put out that bulletin for that young lady. I didn't read the story. I saw the headline and I didn't read it. I would not waste my time with some little girl who put out some voice note, and the government running after her with a bulletin. They want to talk to her. We got much more important things to talk. I want 1,000 more nursing assistants to put some voice note online. Whether they're lying or tell the truth is not my business. I want 1,000 more of those voice notes online. I'm telling you all, my people, separate. Do not separate the tree from the forest, but understand what's the tree and understand what's the forest. I'll just stop this police nonsense. We ain't got police force in Guyana. What we have is a government coercive force, not no police force. That they have gone long time. Good evening. Tonight is not my night, but I welcome you all here. Share the link, because we are going to talk it differently here, as we always do. Let a police story go along with you. It is the government that's acting, not the police. If the police were to act, the police will act differently. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. Good evening to all of you. We are moving with the power and the glory. And when we begin to move like that, no bullet, no wanted bulletin can stop us. Brother Gabriel, let them go.
Good evening to you, and good evening, everyone.
You, as a Christian, you've just finished observing one of the momentous moments in the Christian cosmos. Let me use a fancy term. All right? The duality of the crucifixion and the resurrection. There can be no resurrection if there wasn't a crucifixion. I stopped being an active daily, weekly church goer a long time. I still go to church. When I'm in Guyana, I try to make it. When I'm in America, I'm very particular as who I worship with, right? And I is an English church man. And where I live, and get too much of English church that I want to worship with, because I'm very particular with my co-worshipers. But when I come to Guyana, I just think. But tonight, I'm going to let you talk. Crucifixion, resurrection, and Adriana Young. Over to you, my brother.
Again, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brother David. It's the most sacred time in the Christian calendar. Palm Sunday, the triumphant entry into Jerusalem. Holy Thursday, the betrayal. Gethsemane. You all know that. And Good Friday. What is truth? What is truth? And Father, forgive them. And you are correct, David, and I must say, before our audience, I mean, you are hitting some notes tonight here in that intro, and when we were talking, it's a different side of you that I am encountering, and I'm awed by it. It's good. Now, blood life, crucifixion, resurrection, sacrifice, so that others can continue, others can have a chance, others can flourish. That's the gist of the Christian context, of which I am a little bottom feeder. I'm not an everyday church man, so let me get it straight. Right? Let me get it straight. I mean, I preach in the cathedral and I go in different parts in the country, and I am asked to go and I share. And I'm always talking about the poor, because the Savior is, I've come to the sick and the tired and the fatigued and the afflicted and the downtrodden. And so we come to Adriana Young, a life taken too early. She should have died of old age, but that's gone from her. And this, it's not that she died, which is bad enough. It's how did she die? We can't say here how she died, but how did she die? And we talk about democracy and we talk about civility and we talk about governance and leadership. And the death of an 11-year-old child drives us into this frenzy. And I am not talking about what occurred on the street. I'm talking about what led up to it and the hustle for put a blanket on the thing. That's where the story is. That's the heart of this matter here. She died, and we had a straight story from day one. The police is the government. The police is the face of the government. And we had a straight story, and we're accustomed to straight stories, having been acclimated to straight stories. We could have said, let's listen to you some more. But because Guyanese have been saturated and have been inundated with deception, they can smell one. And so, the same people who they been for Jesus, Hosanna, 4 days before, was it 4? Sunday, Palm Sunday, is them torn back beneath. And the people who were the religious establishment, not the Romans. Jesus was a Jew, if you believe. And the religious establishment, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes and the elders, they were Jews. And they turned beneath. Because, yes, he was the Savior and Redeemer, but he was a revolutionary also. And they don't like that. They feel a threat to the power structure, which is them. We got to talk in the Creole here. There's them. And you are a threat to them, so we got to snuff you out. But it was something bigger. It was something bigger than the ordinary. And so Adriana Young, little child, in a sense gone, she has become all the things that we have said, the catalyst, the spark, the reality of our tinderbox, the reality of our tinderbox in front of our eyes, whether we want to see it or not, whether we want to accept it or not, whether we want to hold it in our hands and let it sift through our fingers and say, this is the truth of us. And it's a government truth, or it's a government untruth. And so because of all the other Adriana Youngs who are not 11 years old, whether they come from Mocha or Linden or Cotton Tree or wherever, or Dartmouth, it all comes to this climactic point that we can't take it no more. Enough is enough. And I wish that there were other voices who could see this thing like me, who look like me, and be honest with themselves for once, and don't see politics, see a country. And see not only a country, but see other people who are suffering in a land of plenty. Why? Why should that be? How could that be? And you're telling me but one, and you're telling me but we. You just tell me about political instigation that has no bearing and relevance. And then you come in now and tell me, but out of the death of this child, we must have a push for unity and harmony. What kind of hypocrisy is this? What unity is this? This is past deception. This is this is a little mischievous. This is more than mischievous. You got some hard words, but you got to be careful with the censors. They're wrong, and they're waiting for drop a lash in you and silence you through the courts and whatever. But here's the thing: we look at the death in the Christian tradition and how it came about and how they try to cover up the thing. Oh, they come the night time and take the thief the body, and now they tell you he raised from the dead. In the instance of Adriana Young, all these subtexts come up now about PNC and black people and black thugs and the political commercials, the images that have been shared across our consciousness for the past week. Those got their use for later. But I would caution my brothers who are the leaders in this country. And notice I call them my brothers. People can make me into enemy. Me thinking tell me for make you into one. Right? Love thine enemy. But don't let me go down the road and I get too pious, which I can't represent. Here's the story. We got to learn something from last Monday and the death of this child that tells us the time for us to look deep inside of ourselves as individuals, as leaders, as ordinary citizens, and as contributors to the state where our country is, and say, we can't go on like this because this is contributing to our own self-destruction. We gone past self-devastation to our own self-destruction because I'll tell you, and I think you, Dr. Hines, pointed to it, and I'll address it frontally. If we got any sense in we head, April 28th, you know, America had its 9/11. I've been there. And I've been in the London subway bombing 7/7. And here am I, April 28th, 4/28, as we think. If there is some residual wisdom in this country, at the top and in the middle and the people who are advising them people at the top, they should look upon that. They should look upon that and say, well, is what October, November going to hold? What is it that could be in store when we have all this pent up anger, resentment, and antagonisms? I gotta say it. So it took, look how straight they said the longest journey began with the first step. And the journey that we have to take, which we have rejected taking, despite the best of intentions and overtures and appeals and even begging, that step started, I think, long before this child, but it culminated. It's now gone to a place where it set a baseline. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Guyanese, and all others who are listening, watching, the death of Adriana Young set a baseline for what is going to happen going forward in this country in terms of the relationship between citizens, I mean, if it got to be a section of the demographic, and the government, and from there we shall proceed. And people telling themselves, hear this, whatever come, we shall overcome. And I think that's what I gathered from last Monday. And the run up and the stir up and the shove up from last Monday and the death of this child.
Brother GHK Lall here tonight. We are trying to make sense. Yeah? That's what I have done since last week. I didn't have a guest on last week. All 5 nights, trying to help us to make sense of what's before us. Because sometimes old people say, you watch, but you not see. You watch, but you not see. And we're all watching. And what we have to do is to try to see what is it exactly that is unfolding before our very eyes. Gabriel, 5 years ago, we went to the polls. And it took us 5 months to declare a government. When people dead, where's the first question you just ask? When they're buried.
Mhm.
It's now almost 2 weeks. And this child is not buried yet.
Mhm.
People like myself try to say 5 years ago it was not about rigging. Rigging happened at every election since I was a child. So what happened 5 years ago was the coming together of forces that lay bare and naked all our demons. But people said the PNC was rigging, APNU was rigging, this body was rigging, and people like myself who have had the good fortune of studying human phenomena say, look, rigging is not the story here. The story here is a crisis in our society. This child was supposed to bury today, the funeral call off. And people are going to have all kinds of theories. But I'm drawing the parallel between the 5 months waiting for an election result and the 2 weeks thus far where we are waiting for the child to be buried. As you have been saying, this child's death, as the young people would put it, skin Guyana up. Just as the election 5 years ago skin up Guyana, and we call it all kind of thing, this time is this child's death that has skinned this country up again and pointing us to the point that we're a Mickey Mouse country that need to get itself right. And it raises so many questions. And I want to take you in a direction you can comment on the parallel when you go to this committee. I want to take you to this question. For all they say that those people were looters and thieves and gangsters, and there was mayhem and riot in a racially sensitive society. It is not insignificant that not an Indian was attacked by those mainly African protesters. Most of the businesses, in fact, I have not seen a case where an Indian business was targeted. The point I'm making, in all of this mayhem, this riot by these crazy people in an ethnically divided society, Indians were not attacked as Indians. Their businesses were not targeted. The one instant where we had 2 little children, something was thrown on them mysteriously. We have all the scrapers getting rounded up, and the 2 boys or whoever they were that throw the acid then get pulled in for fitness yet. That is what I'm saying. Those of us who running with mouth and talking about riot and mayhem, any riot and mayhem in an ethnically divided society, you normally would see, and we have seen it in Guyana, where ethnic groups are targeted because they belong to a certain ethnic group. But this riot last week there, Indians were not targeted. The businesses were not targeted by mainly African things. I've not heard the PPP and the leaders say that. I've not heard the opposition leaders say that. And I'm putting the opposition leaders there because they are equally culpable. They do not want to speak to their people in their own language. They were quick to condemn looting. And I am, tonight, before you answer, I want to say, David Hines, congratulate the protesters for not allowing themselves to be drawn into an ethnic confrontation. I am congratulating those people who they're calling looters and scrapers and so on, because they've done something remarkable in this big riot, this big mayhem, all the outpouring. Indians were not targeted. And there's something else I want to observe. The so-called looting and rioting occurred in Georgetown. There wasn't any looting and rioting in Buxton. No looting and rioting in Denhamstel. No looting and rioting at Golden Grove. No looting and rioting at Belladrum and Hopetown. These are facts that Guyana must look at in the face when you're calling people thugs and so on. And I'm talking to some of you all black people, because some of you all use this stupid language. And not sitting back and say, let's wait and make sense of what we saw. Gabriel, over to you. You don't have to own anything that I said, but I've thrown something on the table. Over to you.
Well, that's one of the mysteries to me, that you've got this outbreak of frustration and rage. You've got all these pictures, all these reports coming to you by the minute, the second, Facebook, whatever, in the times we live in. And all I keep hearing from then and a week now, the Chinese, the Chinese, the Chinese. And I'm saying this is a great degree of discipline. You call it something else. I am saying this is a tremendous amount of awareness. I mean, it's not that Indian people gone out of business. Are we inviting anybody to attack Indian businesses or target Indian people? But it was stark in its absence.
That's right.
It was blinding in its absence, that you've got people running out of control, and yet they were so they were controlled. That is only one way they're going. And if you notice something that you left out that I thought you were going to, is, correct me here, is largely food places.
There you go. There you go.
So I ain't hear nothing but electronics, which is high price thing.
Right.
And you got Chinese and Indians have that, and phone places and all them things. It's food supermarkets. Supermarkets bore the brunt of this thing. And so I am saying, yes, we have to take cognizance of what you repeated in your couple of minutes there just now. In a ethnically polarized society, sharply and deeply so, how could this be? I think this is unprecedented. I mean, I may not know the history as I certainly don't know the history as profound, as deeply as you, but this one has got this unprecedented feel about it, that the Chinese are the ones that bore the brunt of the anger, of the outbursts, of the lootings. But I can tell you something my man tell me. They were near to a place. I could share this with you folks. I don't think he will. And what? And they go to these people, about 5 of them, he and he bodyguards and so on, and they're armed. And the young black fellas tell them, he says, sir, we hungry. And he said, well, what do I do then? In this country that is so economically viable and vigorous. Why people talking about hunger? And that's one of the things that have been going on for the past several years, 4 years, 5 years. You talk about cost of living, they slap you down. You talk about crime, you slap them down, and the solving of crimes and the biases in crimes. And you come to this child's story that is a mystery that grows by the day, or started out that way and became a bigger mystery. And then you come to this explosion, expression, and you say, why? I'm still struggling with that. Why only the Chinese?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What? You know, I mean, yes, they think big and visible. You can't miss them, and they're in almost every neighborhood. But so are other stores with
That's right.
very, very high price items that you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a truck to fetch. You could fetch it in your hand, right? You could fetch it in your hand. And they have Indians and Chinese stores who got these things. And I mean, it makes sense for thief there.
Yes.
But
Yes.
younger there.
Oh yeah.
So again, I go back to this little poor expression of mine to say the looters, the rampagers, whatever you want to call it, they were disciplined enough to steer themselves in one direction and one direction only.
That's right.
As we say in America, I think you have a large diasporan audience here. If the thing look too smooth or it look too tilted, then
Mm-hmm.
it is that way.
Yes.
Something wrong with it. Something is a setup with it. Something fixed with it. Something smells about it. And I think that's what we have here. We had a situation where I said to myself, and look, I'll tell everybody. When I first heard about the abduction of this girl, I say here, the word police. These them people on the road there. All the Christianity in me abandoned me. I said they should tear them out from limb to limb, from limb by limb. Guess
Mm.
what I'm thinking? I am thinking of a sexual predator. But
Yes.
the thing is not duh, right? That is me ignorance here, and I'll confess that publicly. This nobody talking about that at all. Nobody ever spoke about that. And then it became to this thing about sacrifice and cover up. Oh, she was taken in a vehicle. And then she's dead. She's found drowned. And then we're talking about autopsies, and we want to hear about the local autopsy. We want to hear about the local police. I'll be frank here. I don't even want to hear about the FBI now, because the FBI, where it is today, and where Guyana is with the USA, I can't take nothing that they give to me.
There you go.
I mean,
There-
it's a sad state, and it's a sorry thing for me to say,
yeah.
but I got to say it.
Yes.
I got to say it. If we're going to be frank here and honest with ourselves, this is the place where we come in this country and at the worst time in this world. Because what is making sense here? What is real? What is truth? We got back to Pontius Pilate, right? I mean, unfortunately, what is truth, my brothers and sisters? I don't know the fullness of truth, but I can tell you what I know. I know something that didn't look right because it didn't right.
That's right.
The whole, as you know, they go back to the thing. If it walk like a duck and quack like a duck and
That's a
look
dog.
like a duck, it is a damn duck at the end of the day. It's nothing but a duck. And what we got here is duck and drake, right? We got this story where the politicians kicked into their normal gear and telling me, but oh, we're gonna look into this clearly. We're gonna have a thorough investigation. And I promise you this. You promised me there was cotton tree, right?
Yes.
Are we
Yes.
still there where we there?
Yes.
Right? You run into the man house in Dartmouth, we name again, or in Boston,
And
and say
Boston.
he had a gun in the hand. The man lying down in the bed with the wife, and he got a gun in the hand. He had a gun, right? I mean, so you always have these incidents, these murderous incidents where they got the spiel, as the Jewish people say, already orchestrated, right? And so they put it out there, and they've always got suction with it. This time, from the Chinese to the police, from the police to the pathologists to the Chinese people, what we got here, nobody really in buying. Because I'll tell you this, and I put it before the folks here. When the people they thinking that they're half a block from me, right? You see, you're seeing these green gun half a block street block from me, so I could hear the guns firing. I could hear the noise, and I take a peep. There are two police cars at the end of the thing all day. I went out, come back, two police cars. I went down the same street and stand up in front of a government office with some people. And I tell a man, with any car now, in the avenue, as we said, I said they had about 3, 4 police. We protested about something else. This is about a month ago. I said, you special branch. He said, no, I don't like that word. Young black guy. I said, what word do you like? He said, intelligence. I said, good. Just give them the right intelligence about what we're doing here, right? You can tell me them had plans in that, official plans in that group, and to recognize, well, where it's at and the temperature of it. But it's when the thing go out of hand, and we know about the people with the special orientation who get government contracts and who got friends in high places, who were the agitators in that peaceful protest. And when the thing busts out, then the police come in with their shield and their whatever and whatever. I am remembering, folks, the march that, correct me here, that started in Golden Grove, peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. They're trudging along, singing their song, whatever. And when it near for reach Manripo, let's call it the Indian market, the police did what I would call that a tactical retreat. And went, right? And give the people space, the thugs that were planted, space for carry on. And the president ran there the next day with the envelopes ready. I say, wait, man, like you don't know this thing would happen. And so again, I'm getting flashbacks to there, and I say, look, I see this thing before. And indeed, it was so with money on his own. Oh, yes, yes. Black thugs and Indian victims and so on and so forth. Nobody talking about Indian victims this time. We're talking about Chinese. Right? And that's the peculiarity and the mystery of this thing here in the middle of this mysterious death. So what we got is mystery upon mystery upon mystery. And we really getting nowhere with it because we ourselves are so connected to the old narratives that the few of us who separate from it, we are too few. So now we're saying, oh, we've got to bring in the international folks and we've got to go here. We've got to look at where we are as a country, my brothers and sisters. Every damn thing in this country, from an election to cutting up a dead body, excuse me, family, to examining a dead child's body. We entrust we own people. We got to go, catch a plane, bring a man in a plane and say, or a set of people in a plane and say, I check out this thing for me. I mean, are we a country? You said, what was it? You said a comic book. You said something else. We are a comic book country.
Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I am not happy with that, and none of us should be. And we got to get past this. We got more pride than this with we PhDs and we JDs and MDs and whatever DDD, and say, no, man, no. I can't face me trouble like this, and I can't face the white people or the international. Say, well, we're trying our best. We are not trying our best. We are trying our best to be devious, right? And we are very good at that. And that all of that is coming home to roost now, or coming up, bubbling to the surface in this business here that started with the death of this child, or fed in, or was fed by the death of this child. This child's death is catalyst, symptom of all that's wrong in this society. It's the sickness that come out of we pores, and now the stench suffocating we more strongly than any tear gas, because it's so thick and it's so thorough. It's there all over the place, and the president needs to see this and to stop being a politician, playing small ball and low ball about political instigation. He He has got to be a leader. That's his mandate. He's got to rise. There are times when you got to rise above the partisan politics. And even if you can't be a leader, be a man. And say, man, watch. I don't like as a citizen. I'm taking off my presidential whatever, mitre or something. And I just don't like where we are. And I am going to take the lead in getting something done about this. Of course, the scientists can tell me, well, the system does not allow that. Well, God damn it. We got to make up our own system as we go along if we're going to move forward. We are going to have to be that new system that breaks away from the old, that breaks away from the norm and say that we reaching for something. We didn't know what it is, but when we reach there, we can know it's now what we got now, and therefore it's better.
And therefore it's
So
better.
all this thing, Chinese and this child and Tushan and Georgetown, we got to look ourselves and say, I ain't like where we there, and we can do better, and we must. And that's where we're at. Our churches have to lead this. Look where Martin started.
Mm-hmm.
The backbone of the black community in the churches. Where are our churches? They got to say something. They got to stand for something. Not just waiting to get some damn handout and some pat on the back and say good boy and good girl and you're keeping things in order. No. If it calls for radicalism, then we got to have that. And that's where I am.
That's where I am, GHK Lall, here tonight. Excuse me. And you mentioned Dr. King. And I'm going to search and find that speech by Dr. King, in which he said, I am not going to be a firefighter for white America who antagonize black Americans and beat them down. And when they rise up, they want Dr. King to say, let us have calm and peace. And I'm going to find that speech and send it to the opposition leaders who were so quick to talk about calm and peace. Dr. King said, I am not a firefighter. You do not create your fires and call on me to out your fire. He said, oh, no. The king and the prince of nonviolence said that. I'm going to play it tomorrow night. And the reason I'm so tough on our opposition leaders, they are too quick to become firefighters for fires that they didn't start. The PPP who they're knocking all the time start the fire and then call on them. Oh, let's have peace. Let's have calm. Well, even if they don't know about Dr. King, they know about Peter Tosh. Everyone is crying for peace, but none of them crying for justice. Our leaders have to stop this nonsense of being short-sighted. I notice they're trying to walk the thing back now. And they're trying to walk it back now. Too quick. Something is happening that you ain't know what is it. Oh my God, man. Throw back now. I said, let me see where this is going before I open my big mouth. Let me see where it's going. And you look at that thing. That was not looting. That was not thieving. Yes, stores were looted. Yes, things were stolen. But that don't make the action looting and stealing. Because if real looters and thief man were out there, they would have licked down from black business to Indian business to Chinese business, Portuguese business. They were not looting. They were not looting. And so our leaders have to be more careful in trying to understand what is unfolding before their very eyes. I'm saying it, and Gabriel, you're not responsible. If our people are not accepting the results of a postmortem, now I'm a scientist, so I don't pronounce on postmortem. If they're not accepting a postmortem, and they're not accepting police doing anything, you think a year from now, a couple months from now, when we go to an election without biometrics and without clean voters list, and we go with, you think they're going to accept that? Again, I'm throwing it out to my fellow leaders, but I'm also throwing it out to the government. You have a chance to make right. And that is what you're saying. Mr. Ali and others have a chance. I'm not an Obia man, but I am watching and observing keenly. The people, they can't say it's the PNC carry them people in front of the hospital. They even surprised me. Those people went in front of, they're making their own decisions. And they're showing a consciousness that is beating people all over. A friend pointed out to me, about a year and a half ago, I observed, Gabriel, young people start sending me things about what's going on in Burkina Faso.
Mm-hmm.
One of them telling me, Dr. Hines, you is Guyana Ibrahim. And these are young people who we say, and these people are paying attention. When I start observing around the Caribbean, I realize the young people in the rest of the Caribbean are paying attention to what's happening in Burkina Faso. It's there, but we don't credit our young people with consciousness and intelligence. So when they're gathering their consciousness, we can't see it. We can't see it. And so what you have here is in my view, and I'm asking you, is the manifestation of a consciousness that is rooted in what Walter Rodney called the self-activity and self-liberation of people. I am amazed, night after night, big women, big men, young girls, they're coming out of the house from Atlanta to Washington, D.C., New York, Myconi, this way, that way. And what is happening here? This is not normal. It is not normal. And I don't have the answers. I'm using my training. I'm using my activism of observing the thing to try to make sense. But often when these things are happening in real time, you don't quite grasp it. And so that is why I've taken it upon myself to try in real time to say, these are the signs we are seeing here. It could change tomorrow. They may have a demonstration tomorrow and Indian businesses may be attacked. But we will know that the Indian businesses are being attacked. They're not being attacked by the brothers and sisters who are out there on Monday night. There got to be somebody else now go attack those Indian businesses. What them big people say, I say no more. Over to you, Gabriel.
Well, again, you've said a mouthful there. The one, I think, if anything that can be said, the PNC was not close to that protest at all.
Not at all.
So that piece of that tradition that the PPP has, that knee-jerk thing to say, oh, is an opposition thing. They couldn't go there. They could not go there. And I can tell you that because of my proximity to this one, others have not been, that was coming from the ground. That was coming from deep inside here. And the point that I've been harping on, insisting upon, and I put it out there, if you can't trust the police, not if you can't, if you are not going to trust the police, if you can't trust your pathologist, is how much we got? 2? You can't trust your pathologist. I will go so far as to say people don't trust the president. Nobody wants it? Well, let me put it this way. I wrote it in a kind of nuanced language. My trust in the president is close to 0. And I think everybody knows where David down there. If that is me, What were people who really get brutalized by the economic violence,
Mhm.
by the police violence,
Mhm.
by the state violence, by the verbal violence? What about those people who say, well, nothing what you say I can take?
Mhm.
We in a bad place there.
Very bad place.
Imagine you reduce this country to two citizens, me and you. And I tell you, wherever you come up with, you better take them off the table right away. So then that is where we are in this country. I am hearing Indian people, let's shift this a bit here if I may, saying, I mean to trust them man at all. Me to trust. Why do you think the young fella has that appeal? Why do you think the newspaper publisher, when he goes, people already got a big listening audience, plus when he goes elsewhere, people telling him to do all kind of thing. It is because people are tired of these fellas and on beyond tired and disgusted with them because they have disgraced the offices they hold and disgraced us. They have disillusioned us, the ordinary man out there, the people who can't really, who are left to their own devices. Now, if you got a family, David, that ain't got trust, if you walk in a workplace that ain't got trust, you're living in a community that nobody entrusts one another, and you know where I'm going with this. Everybody should know it. And you live in a country where complete distrust or close to it saturates the entire society. Then what do we have?
Mhm.
We got nothing. We can get all the oil in the world and all the gold and all the timber, and we have those. But what do we have really in us? Something to bind us and guide us, something to lift us and carry us. What do we have when our systems are so broken and the people who are manning the systems are so distrusted? What do we have? Did we need really the death of an 11-year-old to bring us to this sort of awareness, to this sort of insight that this is where we did? When I said before, we just use this big fancy word, credibility, right? It's more than it's people in trust. When you got trust, we talk about a shop here, a grocery shop, a cake shop from our days growing up. We're talking about national trust. We are talking about leadership that is distrusted. From the time they open their mouth, people say this, what are they coming up with now? What are they coming up to pull a fast one for we? To put a paper bag over we head? And that is what drove this whole Adriana Young and the surrounding developments and the aftermath. Well, they can't even say the aftermath because we're still talking about a second autopsy and we're talking
Mhm.
about a
Mhm.
funeral that
Mhm.
has not happened. Now, I know I said to you before we came live, and I thought we were live before we knew it for that first 15 minutes. I said to you, I noticed in today's paper that, that the ambassadors, the foreign diplomatic corps, the leading ones, America in the lead, are calling for calm. At that time, the funeral there was no announcement; it was off. Are calling for calm. That's good. But I remember Sarah Lynch saying, Excellency Lynch saying, at least we must give her that. Among the other things that she did, that there must be distribution of the assets of this country that reaches all citizens. The new lady, Excellency Nicole D. Theriot, with due respect to her, she has gone into hibernation. But she comes out now, after I think about a year here, to say, let us have some calm. Is that for the interests of Guyanese or for the interests of the investor contingent? Now, I want to really bring that into the mix and flesh that out. But I'm saying investors, foreign investors, they want peace and stability. But how do you get that in a country where injustice that nobody's talking about runs rampant? Injustice and inequity are the dominant strains in your systems. All the statistics you bring out, all the reports you release, all the charts you present, they can mask for a time and then they're unmasked in the worst fashion possible. The reality of what is going on in our society. We have a society of haves and have nots. We have a society that is cherished, part of it is cherished and embraced and rewarded, and we have a society at the other part, a huge part, that is ostracized and demonized and criminalized. And so how do the two how does anybody expect this acid and honey to mix? It can't mix. And 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 this is where we are. And unless, this is what we could talk about always wrong, unless there's a sea change in the attitude of the hierarchy of the PPP, and also within the opposition,
Mhm, mhm.
also in the opposition, there got to be a sea change, that this country can only be governed in this manner. And the Guyanese people will only benefit accordingly if this were to happen. Then we spin in we wheels, we up on a treadmill, we going no place. We just fooling ourselves and we are perpetuating the wrongs that have been happening. The all of the other things that have not had the visibility and the audibility that we have brought, that you have been talking about before and that we are discussing right now. Here's this. They must, if we are really serious, policing, governance, leadership, if we are really serious, there will not be another Adriana Young.
There you go. There you go. If we're serious, and I'm glad you brought out the opposition thing. Yes, I'm part of the opposition, but I'm very clear that those people are also those people with the candles there when the night come. Those people who were writing their names on the canvas of Guyana's resistance tradition on Monday night. They're sending an equal message to the opposition. They're saying to the opposition, last week and the week before, you all spent all your energy talking about who gonna be presidential candidate and who gonna be
Yeah.
consensus candidate and who gonna get 40% and 60%. And we are saying to you all, there are bigger things that are plaguing this country, and you all depend on stupidness. So the message is not just to the government, it's also to the opposition.
Mhm.
Because their own people are saying to them, you all depend on stupidness. You all really should be talking about, you all should be coming to us and organizing us
Mhm.
and talking to us and listening to us rather than sit down there and talking about presidential and consensus and 46 and 60-40. It's a rebuke. These people are rebuking their own leaders. I put myself in that category. Maybe I may not get as much rebuke as the others, but all of us are so-called leaders. Although sometimes some of us don't be put out there as influential leaders, you know? But the fact of the matter is it's a rebuke to us. It's a rebuke to the government and the state, and the opposition is technically part of the government in the state.
Mhm. Mhm.
You see? And so don't be shy to rebuke the opposition, because I think I understand the rebuke that is being given to us here. GHK, I don't want to ask where do we go from here. It's difficult. It's difficult to say where do we go from here.
But I can,
Just go ahead.
one thing that we can say, and we must say, and we all must say, we can't stay where we are.
That's it.
We cannot stay where we are. We cannot afford it. We cannot survive with it. We cannot prosper with it. So that's the lowest of the low. We can't stay where we did, but we can't stay static. And so we have to aim to take these things a little bite at a time. I don't want to hear about gradualism and incrementalism and all of that. I am saying that what we need now at this time, more than anything else, is a putting of our heads together and say, this is our condition. These are our pluses and these are our minuses. Reduce this thing to business terms. And this is, as you said earlier, this is the sociology of our people. These are the expectations. This is the politics. This is the economics. And we got to bring all this together and say, we must all feel that we have a seat at the table so we can move this country together, forward together. Let me say this again very, very clearly. No one group can move this country forward. They're going to move it in a kind of a way, day way. They're going to move it a half step and tell you it's 5 steps, but no one group. Our country, look, frankly, our country is too polarized and it's too resentful, it's too bitter, it's too angry. We need our leaders to lead and to sacrifice. Stop arguing about who got, yes. I'm tired of hearing that. I'm embarrassed to hear it about who gonna get what, this role, and this is how the thing have to divide. We've got bigger things to deal with. Sorry about that. We've got bigger things to deal with in this country, and they are crying out for attention. So I see that. Look where this thing happening. Look where this thing happening, Brother David. This thing ain't happening in 2022, in the midpoint, 2023. It happening in halfway in 2025. I think there, and we don't need to get mystical about this, right? I think we just need to be practical. This thing happening halfway in the year of this particular year. You can't snuff out that.
Who have eyes to see?
Yes.
We'll see. Who got ears to hear?
The ear will hear. We got right back. Right.
Oh, Gang say, pick me, Bush got his.
Yes.
Are you be careful, Bush got his. My brother, it's always a pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you. Thank you.
The audience has come out in their numbers and they're here until the very end. I rather suspect that I may have to call on you before next month, time like this, but we shall see. We shall see. Thank you very much. Yes,
Before I go,
yeah.
Today is Arrival Day, Indian Arrival Day.
Indian Arrival Day.
2 days ago was Portuguese Arrival Day.
Yes.
Long before all of these was African Arrival Day, although that was involuntary.
Yes.
But hear this one. For us to make Arrival Day resonate, we must show that our minds have arrived at a different place.
Yes.
And with that, I say good night to everyone. And thank you.
And what a way to end. Thank you very much, brother. Well, here we are again. We move in with the power and the glory. The power and the glory.
In this land of broken rules, political fools, we got to stick together. In many ways, the people have always been ahead of their leaders, but we got to keep eagle-eyeing their foolishness if we gonna rise above. I don't care who says my cliche is tired, but what we need is love. Watch how we moving, watch how we grooving, see how we float in style. One nation under a groove, the Ganges has met the Nile. The hidden agendas of the mind benders, these people will always do their due. But when we get to that sweet place that we go in, them could come along too. Cause we moving with the power and the glory. See how we float inside. One nation, one group, the countries has met tonight. There'll come a time when our children will ask us, big people, what did you do? And when we let the lyric fly, pray not to lie, the choice is up to you. Tell me why so many rivers of this world found their way into this land. The sweet answer lies in the very question. I hope you understand. Watch me. And now, the lady who called from North Korea and said she have it on stream. All the streamers in the United States, Europe, throughout the Caribbean, we will sing this one together all around the world with the people here today. Are you ready? See how we moving. One nation. Hidden agendas. The hidden agenda of the mind benders. They will always do their due. But when we get to that sweet place, Trinidad and Tobago, even them could come along too. Cause we move with one nation, one group. The Ganges has met the night. The Ganges has met the night.